Right.
Okay, we'll call this meeting to order. This is the City of Callaway Board of Commissioners regular meeting. It is Tuesday, April 22nd, 2025. It's 6 p.m. Hey, if y'all will stand with me, Commissioner Pelletier, would you do the invocation, please? Commissioner Briggs, lead us in the pledge.
Lord, we thank you for allowing us to gather today, and we pray for your guidance in making decisions which is good for our city and citizens. We thank you for our first responders, and we ask you bless them and their families. Please keep them safe and let them go home at the end of their shift. We thank you for our citizens and our employees that make Callaway a great place to be, and pray you bless them with peace and success. In Jesus' name we pray.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
City Clerk, please do a roll call.
Commissioner Davis?
Here.
Commissioner Gray?
Here.
Commissioner Pelletier?
Here.
Commissioner Amos? And Mayor Henderson.
Here. And if you would, I do notice Mr. Cook is not here tonight. He's recuperating at home, so we have Mr. Schultz standing in for him. So we appreciate you being here for us. Okay, we have no presentation that I'm aware of. There's not any presentation. We'll skip that. And we'll go on to, there's instructions. Are there any additions or deletions to the agenda?
Yes, ma'am, I have one addition. Do you have that in front of you?
Yeah, do you want to go ahead and say what it is?
Yes, ma'am. It's meeting conduct, and I'd like to discuss how our meetings are going and some of the things that are going on in them.
Okay, would you like to make that a motion? We'll need a motion in a second to put that on.
Motion?
Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, we've got a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
Nay. So I guess it carries 3-2. Commissioner Davis, did you oppose or yes?
Here.
No? Did you oppose?
No,
No, so yes. Okay, so, okay. So we'll now be item number 7. Okay, so as far as public participation, for anybody that's not been here before to know, we'll do participation on all of the agenda items, so if you want to speak on any one, just raise your hand once you're called up to the podium. If you so choose, please state your name and address for the record, and then the city clerk will start the timer. You'll have 3 minutes to speak on the item. You can speak on each one if you so choose. And then at the end, we have public participation on non-agenda items. So same process, just once you recognize, you'll have to come up. Again, if you so choose, state your name and address for the record, and then you have 3 minutes for your non-agenda item. So we will go on to approval of minutes. We have the minutes of the April 3rd, 2025 commission workshop regarding the RVs, and the April 8th regular meeting. So did anybody have any changes or comments on those minutes? And we need a motion.
I do want to let you know that I did add the information regarding the proclamations at the meeting. I didn't skip that when I was doing the minutes. And then on agenda item number 9, I just added where Commissioner Griggs had made that motion at the end of his comments.
Anybody else have anything? And if not, we need a motion.
Motion?
On both?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So
Second.
we've got a motion and a second. So all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries, and the financial statements are attached, so if any of y'all have questions, you can get with Mr. Schultz, and he'd be glad to go over those with you, I'm sure. So we'll go on now to our agenda items. We will open a public hearing for items number 1 and 2. Item number 1, ordinance number 1120, rezoning of 2 parcels, city attorney.
This is ordinance number 1120, an ordinance rezoning from R8 and R6M residential single-family mobile homes allowed to R6 residential single-family, certain parcels of land lying within the city of Callaway, Florida, consisting of approximately 7.213 more or less acres. Said parcels are located on Seneca Avenue, Callaway, Florida, parcel IDs 24379-000 and 24380-000-000, all is more particularly described in the body of the ordinance, repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith, and providing that this ordinance shall take effect immediately upon passage.
Thank you. And is there any, this is the second reading of this item. Did you have anything, or did you not?
Mr. Piper, any additional questions?
I have nothing to add. We haven't had any complaints or any concerns, really anyone call. I just want to point out that Mr. Steele, the developer, and his engineer, Mr. Charles Steele, here, representative.
Did anybody that you have anything in addition to what we talked about at the last meeting?
Just like to restate again, thank you for doing this development of single-family homes. It seems to be an unusual event these days.
Okay, anybody else? Did anybody in the audience want to comment on this item? Of the rezoning for these parcels? Not seeing anybody? Would somebody like to make a motion?
Motion to approve ordinance number 1120, rezoning of 2 parcels, parcel IDs 24379-000-000 and 24380-000-000, final reading.
Okay, we have a second from Commissioner Davis. Okay, if there's no further discussion, City Clerk, please do a roll call.
Commissioner Davis?
Yes.
Commissioner Griggs?
Yes.
Commissioner Pelletier?
Yes.
Commissioner Ayers?
Yes, ma'am.
And Mayor Henderson.
Yes. Okay, we'll go on to item number 2, rezoning of 325 Cornelia Avenue, City Attorney.
Ordinance number 1121, an ordinance rezoning from R6M residential single-family mobile homes allowed to residential multifamily medium density, a certain parcel of land lying within the city of Callaway, Florida, consisting of approximately 0.33 more or less acres. Said parcel is located on Camellia Avenue, Callaway, Florida, parcel ID 24418-050-010, all is more particularly described in the body of the ordinance, repealing ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith, and providing that this ordinance shall take effect immediately upon passage.
Okay, again, do you have anything to add?
Bill, do you have anything?
No, sir.
Okay, and we discussed this at the last meeting as well. This is the second reading. Did anybody up here have any comment?
Obviously. I've got a question for Mr. Fry. I can't pronounce his last name, so with respect, I'm gonna call him Jack.
Yes, sir.
We know Jack is an entrepreneur, and you know, I'm familiar with the property. But in his application here to make this change, he is, as he did with the other property, he's stating he'd like 3 homes for this. And, you weren't here at the last meeting, but I wrote out at the last meeting that with this being zoning, RMFMD, multifamily medium density, there are certain structures that are involved with that zoning and certain quantity of structures that are involved with that zoning. So, is he, I guess the question is he fully aware that what he's asking for will not meet his 3 unit,
He should be.
request?
He should be. We've had several, I would say probably 4 conversations at Public Works.
You know,
And, he still doesn't know exactly what he wants to do. So, you know, I told him what he would be allowed to do and which zoning he should apply for. And from what he told me, this is it. I know you're, stressing the minimum requirement for amount of units per acre in a multifamily. So it is possible that he may be asking for a variance from that, which,
well, it's not only the number of units, but the type of units. And the type of units involved here are not single-family homes.
that there are multiple units on one parcel.
There could be multiple units, which would fit into some of this, but as I pointed out at the last meeting, this is under Land Development Regulation, Section 15.535. So that deals with that, which is actually about 3 pages involved with that zoning, meeting all kinds of requirements. So I'm just want to be sure that he knows what he's getting into.
Yeah. And he's fully aware that his next move is to get a development order, and at that time, we'll make sure he's in compliance with our OBR.
No. Okay,
Anybody else?
on the record.
Anybody else have anything? No. Did anybody in the audience have any comment about the rezoning of this parcel? Seeing anybody, would someone like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve, ordinance 1121, rezoning of 325 Camellia Avenue.
Second.
Okay, we've got a motion and a second. If there's no further discussion, City Clerk?
Commissioner Briggs,
Yes.
Commissioner Pelletier,
Yes.
Commissioner Ayers,
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Davis,
Yes.
and Mayor Henderson.
Yes. Okay, with that, we will close the public hearing and we will go on to our regular agenda items. Item number 3, Leisure Services Guild and Facility Fee Changes. City Attorney?
Right, resolution 25-04, a resolution of the city of Callaway, Florida, adopting a revised schedule for recreational fees for residents and non-residents, repealing parts of resolution 2209 and providing an effective date.
Okay, and I know this is changes to our fees, especially in light of the community center being upgraded to then some others, so did you want Mr. Bear to?
Yeah.
Yeah, attached to our rental fees, we kind of went through, we have 9 different sets of rental forms, so we tried to present it to you in as brief a format as possible. The changes that we're recommending, and we can kind of go through. The last time we did in 22, we adjusted mostly the conference center fees, and I think we're still in very good shape with all those. The one fee, the alcohol consumption security fee, that one we're just going up to $60 per hour. We've had an increase in what we have to pay the officers. We pay them $50 an hour, and basically the additional $10 is administrative fee on that. And then some of the minor things like the tablecloths that we rent, and we do monitor those and keep them maintained, so that those are going from $8 to $10.
What, is that per tablecloth?
Yes, that is per tablecloth. And then the table runners are $3, is something new that we've added. The cloth napkins, we're going from 50 cents to 75 cents. Chair sashes, we're going from 50 cents to $1. Chafing dishes, we're going from $8 to $10. Beverage dispensers are going from $6 to $8. And then, on this second page, all the other conference center items are staying the same. The community center, which is probably the biggest one on this group here, we're recommending $200. It was at $90. That's a recommendation that we're putting out there. That does come in line with what we charge for the Florida room here at the conference center, and it does come in line with what a lot of the other communities are charging.
Now, is that per day?
That-
If you rent it.
That is per day, and on that building, it's available from 8 in the morning till 11 at night,
Okay.
so they get a good long day with that. We don't try to do multiple rentals in a day on that building. And then the Veterans Park Pavilion, we're recommending going from 30 to 40, and that will also be for up to 3 hours. We've typically only rented the pavilions once per day, and, we're getting a lot of requests for the pavilions, and most parties really only last 2 to 3 hours tops, so I think that pretty well covers that, and we can do multiple rentals. The Veterans Park special event fee, when it's less than 100 people, it was $125, and that, we're gonna go up to $150. And then at the recreational complex, basically all our pavilions, we're doing the same way, it'd be $40, and then it's up to 3 hours, same thing with, Angora Park, $40 for the pavilion, up to 3 hours. And then on our field rentals is another one that we actually haven't changed the fees on our field rentals in about 15 years. And so, one of the changes we're looking at making is, our practice fee was $70 per field per day, and we were basically giving a full day for that. We wanna change that to a $40 per hour per field, and that brings us in line with what some of the surrounding cities are charging. And then as far as tournaments, which basically on a tournament, they get the field from 8 in the morning till dusk. And if they go after dark, we charge an additional fee also, but we'd be raising that from $125 to $200 per day per field. And that also includes the initial setup. If it's baseball and softball, it includes, grooming and lining the field and having it ready for the tournament. And then at Gore Park, additional lighting after sunset, and we'll go up to 10 o'clock, which that meets our city noise ordinance to shut down at 10 o'clock, and it's an additional $40 per hour for the lighting. And if any of y'all want to stop me somewhere, or other than that, I'll just go through them if we can discuss. But, the Gore Park additional grooming and lining is for baseball or softball, and that's at $45. And then Gore Park pavilions are listed on here as $40, and that's up to 3 hours. And the Gore Park for special events, and when we say special events, that could be like a company picnic. The churches do some different things where they use the park, and
I do have one question on that, because the other one, it was less than 100 people. What if it's more than 100 people?
if it's more than 100, that's actually our next line here. We go to 250
okay,
if it's gonna be more than
Okay.
100.
'Cause on the
And that's
Veterans
kind
Park-
of just to cover the amount of traffic we typically get and keeping it staffed.
Okay, wonderful.
And that will be 8 AM to dusk. And same thing there, we can go till 10 o'clock, but they have to pay the additional $40 per hour. And then, at the Callaway Recreational Complex, basically the same thing with baseball or softball practice. We were charging $70 per day. We changed that to the $40 per hour. And typically, most of them are gonna be about 2 hours, so they'll be paying $80. And then the tournament fee, the same thing, we go from 125 to 200. And then the additional lighting is going from 30 to 40. And the recreational complex soccer pavilion, same thing, going to $40, and that'll be up to 3 hours. And then the same thing with this special event fee, and that's typically held in our event field right next to the building here. It's 125. We want to go up to 150 on that one, and then it's 250 for over 200.
And I know,
There is one I left off for here that we want to make sure, the Gore Park football field. That one should have been on this list, we missed putting it on here, but that one would be $250 per day, and that's for 8 AM to dusk.
okay. But I know some people might look at this and say, oh, the city's making money, but I know when you look at the time that your people put into, especially these ball fields and stuff, keeping them up, cleaning these buildings and things, so we're not making money, we're just trying to recoup a little bit of what it's costing us, so.
Right,
I don't-
even at these rates, it's not a, you know,
No,
a revenue generating thing, but it helps to cover the cost, whereas, you know, and it's the people that are using it, they're helping. cover the cost,
Exactly.
so.
anybody have any question or comment on anything?
I just have one comment.
Yes, sir.
I mentioned to Tim that every Saturday morning, the softball field is being used, and we're not collecting money and trying to figure out who's gonna enforce these. You know, he's got people using pavilions, groups of people, and it's not being, there's no one to enforce it.
Because they're not reserving anything, they're
Right.
just going in and
Mhm.
having a party or
I
whatever.
happen to know Go Park, cause, Buddy walks me there every day.
Are they allowed to practice on the fields?
Yes, and basically, you know, it's a public park, so it's open to the public. Sometimes it's only an adult with a
This is
couple
a
of
group
kids.
of people,
There's-
this is
there's
not one or
large
two,
groups.
it's 15 to 20.
But
Yeah, that's usually what happens when you practice, and you have a whole team out there.
the only
It
way we
says
can,
$75 for practice, okay?
the only way we can really
Read the
stop that
I
would
did
be,
read it. That's why I asked, are you gonna allow people to practice?
Yeah, so there should be a charge for that, correct?
there
Yes, no?
there should be, but if, you know,
When they
if you're
reserve.
gonna keep,
In reserve.
I said only if they reserve.
Yeah,
but, you know, it's basically all the parks, that's the way we've always looked at it, they're open to the public.
right.
But if someone reserves it, then
That's
And they
fine.
get-
then you're, so like, cause we've had people that have done that, you know, in the summertime, when we got a little break between seasons with soccer, we get some people that'll show up on the weekends and use the fields. And then all of a sudden they show up and we tell them, you can't use it because it's reserved. And, you know, and I've run into people that were coming all the way from Mexico Beach and, you know, we're all upset. And, "Look, you did not reserve it.
That was
So,
all that, and
you know, unfortunately, they get sent away when that kind of thing happens, but, outside of that, we would have to lock the fields up, you know,
Yeah, I understand.
when it's reserved.
And it's just that.
And the only one that we're really holding that to right now is the football field at Gore Park, because if we left it open, there are members of groups that would, you know, the grass would hold.
I never see anybody there, except for groups that reserve.
anybody else have anything?
Now, what about tournaments already booked? Most of these big tournaments are a year out, like, so,
We've got USFA, we've got, I'm not sure how many are on the books right now, probably at least 4 or more this year that are already booked. And then we also have some baseball tournaments that are booked.
So if they already paid, so I mean,
Yes,
they would,
yes.
they would pay
Yeah,
based on.
yeah, that's one of the things we run into is people always wanna book the fields and not pay up front, and we do not reserve the field until they've done the paperwork and their fees.
So this would go into effect, if we pass this tonight, it would go into effect. This is not one that requires a second reading.
That's just resolution, yeah.
So this would go into effect immediately.
One thing I would kinda like to throw out there just for y'all's thoughts is one of the things we run into with our recreational leagues. And y'all know we don't charge any fees to recreational leagues. We do all the field work, all the lining, all the painting, we do, provide the lights. But they also at times request to use this building and the community center. And what we had done in the past was gave them 1 day a year on each building. And it kinda gets out of hand real quick, cause they come up with all these different reasons if they really need it. So I would just like some guidance on that to, I kinda think we should charge them the fees if they wanna use the building, cause it, like I said, they, if the weather's cold, they might wanna go inside the building. I mean, just different, so I think it's.
Yeah, I think it's fair, we're not charging them to use the fields and all that. I think it's fair that if they want to use one of the buildings, because I know these buildings stay rented, and I'm sure the community center, as nice as it's gonna look, when it's open, I think it's gonna stay rented more. So, in my opinion, it's fair that we charge them to use the buildings, we let them use the fields for free. I mean, anybody else chime in?
I agree.
So,
Because Lynn Haven, they charge, organizations, they have a fee, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
And the county charges it.
Yeah, right. Everybody charges except for us.
And I almost hate to throw that out there like that, but, and I think it's a great thing that the city does that. And a lot of times, people participating, and I've tried to do a lot more in all of our different group meetings to let the public realize that, the fees that they're paying to be a part of, whether it's baseball, softball, soccer, football, it's not for the city, it's for the uniforms, for the officials. And the official is a huge expense for them. I mean, they're not making money, the leagues are pretty much breaking even.
But if they wanna use the building for something, you'd think, each parent could kick in $5 or whatever, and they would be able to raise that fee without too much difficulty.
Right, and we've had, like, when they do pictures, the photographers, of course, they would rather be inside the building.
Yeah.
But for a lot of years, we had photographers that set up tents and did it outside, so I think if they wanna be in the building, then probably need to.
Yeah, because there's a cost involved for the city.
Yeah, we have to keep people inside and of course clean it when they're through.
Exactly.
That's a good one.
So is that something we need to add to this to give you more guidance? Or, are we good with just?
I think the fees say what they do, there was really nothing in writing saying that we
That
would
they
waive the fees, and, we kinda, after the last time we adjusted the fees in 22 is when, we spoke with the city manager, and it was decided that we would give them 1 day, but, that 1 day, always, there's an excuse that
Oh,
there
yeah.
be more,
Oh.
and I get it too, they don't have a lot of money to work with.
No,
But it ends up being a burden on the city.
yes, so I think we give direction. Anybody else have anything about the fee schedule?
I do have a question about the practicing. I used to coach baseball, softball, football, all of it, and we never had to pay a fee to practice.
And that would not be for the our current recreation league fees. That basically falls on, we've got a lot of different travel ball teams that will show up, want to use our fields.
Well, I
Yeah,
can see
there's some large soccer groups that all they do is training, and they charge significantly for it, and so, if
So
they
we
want to
are
come here and
allowed-
practice on our fields, they.
So if the field's open, we'll allow them to practice without fees?
Well, if the field's open, they show up, yeah. Unless, and there are times, like as soon as we get done with spring season, we'll put signs out that the fields are closed, so that we can aerify and top dress and try to grow the goal mouse back in where they get beat up. And our soccer league, just so y'all know, we're over 600 kids in this year's season. And so I can only imagine what's gonna happen when we get all these homes next to us. And as city manager and I have been talking, but one thing is, you know, in the future, probably need to be looking at some more land to build some more fields at some point, where we're gonna have to, I mean, our parking in here is pretty much maxed out on Saturday mornings. And if we bring in a tournament on the same Saturday morning, it's really, it's a parking ordeal.
Anybody else have anything on the fee schedule? Did anybody in the audience want to comment anything on the fee schedule? Yes, sir?
Hi, well, this may be a point of clarification. Walter Waltz, 8117 Heritage Beach Drive. I too, in the past, I played at Gore Park, before it was Gore Park. And really, I actually built the ball field past it. I used the rototiller and did everything so that I could practice with my team there. Semi-forced into coaching because I didn't volunteer, they wouldn't have paid me to play. Right? So I can't imagine, now that we have what we have, to pay a training fee. So, especially for a recreational league, T-ball and on up through the Little League. So I think the city can provide, allow, the only comment that caught me was you said you'll close the park. So, like I said, when I go down, well, teams practicing, I would go to that corner lot where there wasn't even a field. So, again, allowing for recreational, and maybe they can sign up for free. And I know you need to get, believe me, I know the work you guys do is great. But my own concern is, like I said, as a coach, that I provide my own uniforms and stuff like that. And I don't know if that's the case today, but please consider that fee on any burden that we create on some of those small leagues like that.
And because we want children to get out and have recreational, things to do, and if we're
No.
closing the park, then that's not good.
On our Callaway Rebels, and do we charge a fee for them to practice?
No, we do not charge.
That's what I thought, our
So, yeah,
local.
we have our approved leagues, which is Callaway Rebels, and then
So
we have
we're not
Callaway
charging
Youth
them.
Baseball and Softball, we do not charge them. And then we have
Baseball,
Callaway Youth
softball.
Soccer.
Strictly for outside.
I thought the Rebels was only football. Is that?
No.
Yeah, Rebels is
Baseball?
only football.
Yeah.
Well, I thought the Callaway Rebels were baseball too.
No,
No,
Well, what is that?
no,
that's a
Okay.
national league.
What's our little league?
it's Callaway Youth Baseball
Okay,
and Softball.
okay. But I mean, same thing, right?
But yes,
Choose the field.
there is the one fee that we charge all the recreational leagues is the non-resident fee, and it's a minimal $5 per season.
Yes, so
It's
if
really
you're
not a huge
Callaway
impact.
kids, you're not paying that, but
Yes, for
If you're
for
coming
people
from
that are
somewhere
from
else.
outside Callaway, and we do actually provide a lot of recreation for people outside of Callaway.
I know we do. Okay, thank you, Jim. Yes, sir?
So money is important. I think that if we set aside a budget to maintain these parks, the additional fee that we are charging, say I wanna go up there and I do something, that additional fee, what really is that going to, minus, upkeep, washing the tip costs, I get it, I get all that part. From a business standpoint, I've done things like this, and I know from a standpoint of, if you have either a low fee or you don't charge everybody, then everybody's gonna be there, all trying to use it. Maybe they might not have good intentions, they might destroy it, it might be horrible. But we gotta find a balance, to people that can't afford it, groups that can't afford it, to be able to utilize something that, when we have budget meetings, money is set aside for those things. So if we're gonna set aside money to maintain these things, then charging people to go use it, it's kinda like, okay, like, how many times are we gonna be taxed on this one item? Excuse me, tax is a figure of speech. But how many times are we gonna pay to use the park? I already paid to get it to be made. I already paid for the guys to cut the grass. I already paid for the water. So what is the extra fee gonna be doing, other than preventing people that can't pay to utilize it? gonna be there. I'll bring my 100-pound German Shepherd, we're gonna tear that thing up, but, gotta find a happy balance, and clearly, that's, gonna be something that's hard to find, so I wish you luck.
Okay, thank you. Well, and I think most of the charges, the way Tim explained, a lot of it is people from outside the city that are not paying taxes to the city of Callaway to help cover the cost,
Right, it's
And
for like
if it's just-
outside travel ball teams, they want to bring
Yes.
their team from Port St. Joe, Mexico Beach, and they got kids from all over, and they say, okay, we wanna hire your field, and we're gonna have all our kids meet here.
Bring our honoriest kids over there. I'll bring my daughter. Take turns.
But,
So
I mean,
we're
if we
looking
have,
for them, we have to pay them, keep the field up, and they're not even registered in Callaway to play ball, but our teams are not gonna be charged.
Yeah, I will address that a little bit. The tournament fees are typically, these are outside groups. Some of them come from Texas, some come from Pensacola. The USFA group, we get people from literally all over the country that come to play these tournaments. On the beach, when they do these tournaments, they're getting the bed tax from the hotels. And City of Callaway is not getting any of that bed tax, so, and I get what he says, and I think that's what we're trying to do, is have a balanced approach where, we're not charging so much that people can't do it, but, and we also do have a lot of time that the park is just open for people to come in. I mean, there's a lot of times during the week where we're getting fields ready for games out here, and someone shows up with a kid just wanting to hit a few balls or something, and we'll usually just try to direct them to whichever field we're not working on at the time, and let them get out there. So we do look for that balance of letting people enjoy the recreation. And we do, if we have the soccer field shut down, there's a lot of open areas that aren't as nice as our regular soccer fields, so people will put cones up and they will go out and do some soccer practice and that type of thing.
okay, did anybody else want to comment? Not seeing anybody, would someone like to make a motion?
Make a motion that we accept resolution 2504, increase recreational facility fees.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, we've got a motion and a second, so if there's no further discussion, City Clerk?
Commissioner Pelletier,
Yes.
Commissioner Ayers,
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Davis,
Yes.
Commissioner Griggs,
Yes.
Mayor Henderson.
Yes. Okay, we'll go on to item number 4. Got my pages stuck together. Okay, item number 4, resolution number 2505, CDBG Small Cities Program Application.
Resolution number 2505, a resolution of the City of Callaway City Commission authorizing application to the Community Development Block Grant Small Cities Application and Matching Funds.
Do you have anything to say about this one, Mr. Short?
This is basically trying to get money to do additional lift stations other than the ones that have been covered in the prior grants.
And I know there's a $50,000 match, and I didn't see in here, so I did get in touch with city manager and asked him what the amount was. I wanted to know what our $50,000 was matching, and it was like over $1 million. So it seems like $50,000 is money well spent, $1 million or more, so. Anybody else have anything? That was my main question on this, is how much money would we be able to get, so.
Then the 50,000 is coming from,
Most of these grants are gonna be rehab, so we could use impact fees to pay that.
and that's restricted, so.
Anybody else up here have anything? No. Anybody in the audience want to talk about applying for a grant for lift station rehab? I just wanna make sure I give people the opportunity. We have a lift station rehab expert out there. Okay, but not seeing anybody, would somebody like to make a motion?
Make a motion, resolution 25-05, CDBG Small Cities Program Application.
Second.
Okay, we've got a motion and a second, any more discussion?
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Davis?
Yes.
Commissioner Briggs?
Yes.
Commissioner Pelletier?
Yes.
Mayor Henderson?
Yes. Okay, moving on to agenda item number 5, bid award. This is for the Beacon Point Plaza rehab for the North South parcel. Are you gonna cover this one, please?
Yes, ma'am. So we this is the rebid for the Beacon Point, the North Out parcel. We issued the invitation to bid on Wednesday, February 26th, and that closed on Friday, April 4th. 4 bids were received as notated, and staff recommendation is to approve award to Holly Development in the not to exceed amount of $1,237,500. This is also contingent on state approval, so I'm still waiting on full state approval from Commerce.
Anybody have any question, comment? I know we discussed this several times in the past since we did that before, so.
What was our max amount, is it 2 million?
Yeah, what is,
The total of grant is 2.38, it's $2,388,726. The owner must provide 1.1 million upfront as the bills are being generated. That gets paid and used first, and then the balance of the 1.288726 would be applied for from Florida Commerce and paid for any additional funds. So basically on the 1.237, they're gonna pay 1.1 out of their pocket before any money can be drawn down. We still have to support that, we have to pay that, and they reimburse us. So it works similar to the grant, issue the invoices to the owner, and they will be required to pay us upon the invoice.
anybody else have a question? Anyone, gentlemen? Nothing?
No question.
Okay. Do anybody in the audience like to speak on this? Not seeing anybody, would someone like to make a motion?
Since I've kind of stopped this the last time, I'm gonna make the motion this time to get it going. So, anyway, motion to bid award of CM 2025-03, Beacon Point Plaza rehabilitation, to be awarded to Holly Development Corporation, not to exceed amount of $1,237,500. And contingent on state approval.
Second.
Okay, we've got a motion and a second. Is there any more discussion? Anyone? And if not, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, so maybe we can get Beacon Point started now, get some construction going on out there. Okay, we'll go on to item number 6, leisure services surplus equipment. Do you want to discuss this, or?
If there are any questions, Mr. Legier will be happy to answer.
Anybody have questions on this?
These are basically 6 items that we've used way beyond their use, I think, and everything on here has been replaced except for the trencher, and that's something that we don't use often enough to buy another one. We can borrow one from Public Works is what we do, and it's not very often that we need to, or we can get out one.
And will these probably be, they'll go to auction, they won't go on gun deals, but they'll actually go when they do an auction locally, they'll
Yes.
do auction.
That's what we do.
Anybody have any question about
No.
any of it, or? It doesn't look bad in the picture, so maybe that's a good sign we'll get some decent money.
Yeah, and of course, like the workmen, they are 15 years old. The seats have been replaced on, that's the thing that gets torn up the most, but yeah, we'll see how the auction does, but there are things, I can need to get into how much is wrong.
Anything we get is more than we've got for them right now, so. Okay.
The tractor's 25 years old, we got a lot of use out of that tractor.
You know, clear out some space for you.
Right.
Okay, thank you, Mr. anybody in the audience want to comment on the surplus equipment and leisure services? Not seeing anybody, would someone like to make a motion?
Motion to approve leisure services surplus equipment to go to auction.
Second.
Okay, we've got a motion and a second. So is there any other discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. And we'll go on to our add-on item, meeting conduct. Commissioner Ayers, since this is your item, you want to go ahead and start the discussion?
Yes, ma'am. All of us up here are pretty much volunteers, and we've run for office, and we've been selected by our constituents to do our job up here, and we're doing our best to do our job. We're here to support the community. We should look forward to coming to do this work, and I personally do. And there's no place in this for personal attacks, especially when they start coming from a commissioner and his wife. They both profess to be Christians, and that's definitely not a Christian thing to do, to try to dig up trash on people and try to defame them in public. So what I would ask is that the mayor start taking control of these meetings, disallow any personal attacks, cut them off at the pass, and to consider not letting that happen again. Cut off the vindictiveness.
Well, since you're pointing this at me, in my defense, I think it's difficult to censor what the citizens want to say. And I will tell you, Commissioner, I have heard you sit in that very seat and make derogatory remarks about me, and I have just let it go.
Thank you.
And I can tell you exactly what you said if you want me to.
Yeah.
You want me to tell you?
I'm not sure what it was.
I heard you, when we were discussing, you brought up speedboats, and I said I was opposed, and you sat there and made the comment, excuse me, everybody, that I had some ass backwards thinking.
Thank you.
Now,
Exactly what you
now,
said.
so if you want to talk about meeting conduct, we need to start with our own backyard.
Yes, ma'am, and I agree with you, 100%.
But it's very difficult to censor citizens unless they are being threatening, you know, whatever. It's hard for me to say, I'm sorry, you can't say that. And I mean, you kind of have just made a personal comment yourself.
Yes, I did, because I'm trying to make a point. That these meetings should not be devolving into personal attacks, getting away from the business of the city and supporting our citizens. We don't need to be sitting up there attacking each other.
Well,
Sometimes when.
With the sunshine law, this is the only place we can.
Thank you, yeah.
Yes, that's fine, but I've been part of FSU student government, I've been part of the student senate, I've watched the senators in Tallahassee. It's not allowed, personal attacks are not allowed in any of those bodies. They're not allowed in the government, in our federal government, the Senate or the House of Representatives. They're not allowed to attack each other personally. So they can disagree, and I think we should stick to the subject and disagree with the subject. But when you start digging up trash on people, that's not good.
Well, I mean, I don't think we are attacking each other.
The only one attack mayor here is the commissioner next to me here has called people stupid out there, stupid ideas, shut up. None of us up here has done that to any citizen. Calling citizens uneducated, so on and so forth. So the commissioner here needs to, you know, clean his house before he starts accusing us of doing anything. I would never, ever, I'm talking, thank you.
Well, I
I'm
was
talking.
talking and you interrupted.
Okay,
When I told
gentlemen,
the citizen,
now-
see, that's where we're gonna devolve in this, and I'm not gonna start backing off.
Yeah.
I was defending the mayor when a citizen attacked her because of her decision and her thoughts on the subject. That's when that devolved into that. But I would like, if we can, get away from personal attacks. And if you hear them, just stop them. And if one of us here, we do a point of order and you stop it.
Okay,
That's what I would like. The order of the meeting, before the citizens are allowed to make their final comments, you know, those are optional. You were sitting there, I think.
yes.
And, until we can get that discussed and, decide what we can and can't say in those, maybe we should suspend those for now.
No, I'm not going to, you know, I'm gonna let our citizens speak. This is the only time that they have to speak to us as a body.
They get their-
You know, and that's for non-agenda items. You know, there can be legitimate concerns that they are bringing to us. So I'm not going to stifle our citizens by discontinuing.
I think constructive comments are good, but when we start evolving into trying to attack people and belittle them, that's when we start getting into trouble. I think constructive things that we can work on as elected officials and our city officials are good. But I hate it when we get a city manager attacked or another person in the audience that's one of our volunteers or a planning board member specifically attacked because they made a mistake. That can be done privately.
No, and I really don't want our planning board members, volunteers like that. I don't consider us volunteers. I mean, I kind of look at it as we put ourselves out there. You know, if a citizen wants to criticize me, I've got to be strong enough to let that roll off my back. You know, if I feel it's not justified, I've got to just be able to let it go. I mean, unfortunately, that's kind of what it means these days to be in politics. I mean, you see it at all levels, from the national level on down. You know, all of our political representatives are, you know, there's all kind of comments made from the president down to the governor, down to county commissioners. I mean, there's citizens, constituents make all kind of remarks about all levels of politicians. So that's just kind of one of those things that I think you have to kind of be willing to accept when you put yourselves out there to be in this position. I know it's not always pleasant. I mean, we've all been on the receiving end of stuff. And it's not always pleasant, but it's kind of what we signed up for. Not really, but I mean, when we took that oath and, you know, put ourselves out there and took that oath, unfortunately, that's kind of part of it. That's the way I look at it, that's just kind of part of it. We'll all try to be respectful of each other, is my thought. That goes from this way to that way, from that way to this way, back and forth this way, and back and forth that way. So if we can just all try to be bigger people and be more respectful of each other, because I know there are times that there may be somebody that gets up and somebody in the audience doesn't agree with them, and then they kind of make comments. So if we could all kind of just keep our comments more to the positive, regardless of which way it's going, just all of us. If we can just try to be more positive, and I kind of leave it at that. What else would anybody like to say?
The last one was, make your final comments, make those prior to the citizen comments. I'm not sure if that's.
We do.
No, you have final comments at the very end, after all the comments have been made by everyone.
She talks about meetings.
Yeah, that's usually just, all I usually do is the
The
announcements.
announcements, I apologize.
Yeah, that's all.
Maybe move the announcements prior to that.
Well, we do. Right now, we have commission and staff comments, then we have announcements, and then we have public participation, and then we adjourn.
But usually you do your announcements after. the
No, we have switched it. We've been doing the announcements before public participation more recently.
That's all I got.
Okay, did anybody else want to say anything on this topic? We'll talk one at a time. Did you want to have anything else?
As you all know, we've changed the format of this meeting many times in the last 10 years. We've had a commission at one time that stifled people, and we were sitting out there, Commissioner Briggs, Mayor, not giving people time to speak. We didn't, our minutes were leery at best. And what we're doing now, of course, is where we should be. The only time we can speak is when we're here. If commissioner is that sensitive, maybe you gotta look for another job. You know,
Okay, that's,
and I know I understand that, but
But that's what I'm talking about.
that's what I'm talking about, that you're attacking me, that, you know, I'm going out, so don't go down that road, okay?
You
I'm
started
talking right
that
now, you're taking my time, okay?
You have all the time.
So, and that's the problem, is you can't shut up and you're supposed to,
no, I know.
you know, and you know what I'm saying. Okay? So, at the end of the day, I think the meeting format, the way it is now, is the way we've worked out over the years, and to start changing things midstream and stifling our citizens is, I don't support that at all.
That it?
Yeah.
Okay. I'll let you gentlemen one at a time, if you would like to say something.
Well, maybe I'm a little bit different, but coming out of industry and dealing with multiple, almost multiple civilizations and multiple unions and everything else, I'm very familiar with most, let's say, most criticisms or names that are out there now. Since becoming a commissioner here, I've learned a little bit more that I haven't heard over the years, but that comes with the territory. And Commissioner Pelletier, you're absolutely right. This is the only time that, and very honestly, this is the only time that we can legally talk to each other concerning businesses, concerning what's going on here. And so much of what we do, we're elected to follow the rules, like I brought up at the last meeting. There are various things that we have to follow, as well as some of our boards have to follow. And we have to set aside our personal feelings in many cases. But if I have a discussion, I remember one meeting, we had a little discussion, Commissioner Pelletier and I had a little get-together, if you will, and we finally just resolved it by me saying, I'm not going to participate anymore in that. And just, there are ways to do it. What we've heard so far from actually both of y'all, it's very easy to slant something in such a way that you actually have a criticism when you're presenting a point. Being multiple graduate of Dale Carnegie, it's how you say things. Now, I never said you did this or you did that, you know. And that's you know, part of the teaching of Dale Carnegie. It's how you say something. And fortunately, with business background and dealing with customers, major customers all over the country and the Americas, there are ways to do things. Some symbols, very honestly, you give some symbols, like in the United States, that's an okay. In Puerto Rico, that's an entirely different symbol. You know? So it's sometimes it's not what we do, it's how we do it, how we say it. But we need to have the communication, and I think we can do it all professionally. I know we're capable of that. Everybody on board here is capable of that. So, you want to have this discussion? We've had it.
Do you want to say anything, Commissioner Davis? You're the only one that hasn't had an opportunity.
Because the citizens need their time to speak, whether we like it or not. They get to say whatever they want. I mean, they can't barrage us. I mean, we can't, that can be stopped. You know, but they say, you know, but we gotta listen. That's what we were putting these chairs to do, is to listen to them, good or bad, negative or positive. The one thing that, you know, I personally learned, and you can feel all my years, nobody likes to be bashed. If you're not, when you're commissioner, governor, mayor, anybody, they wanna bash you. You're never doing the job right. So you gotta, like my mama said, you gotta develop thick skin. You know what, you gotta pull up your big boy pants, smile, go on. And it's hard sometimes. It makes us combative, and that's kinda, you know, where you get combative and you don't wanna take it. And unfortunately, we were elected to accept it. You know, you gotta take it, let it roll off your sleeve, and go on, smile, and thank them, and it'll make you better and make them better. Cause the only way we can work with them is to listen. So that's just my 2 cents.
Anybody else have anything before I let the citizens speak?
I'm good. I think the citizens should say things, you know, constructive things, but when you start devolving into personal attacks, I think that's not constructive. Anything constructive, I wanna hear. And I take notes, and you notice I take notes up here. And then I try to work on those things. And if I said something that was offensive, I said the mayor, I definitely apologize.
I accept your apology.
And I don't mean it. So you're a very good leader.
Well, thank you, but unfortunately, when we sit up here, we have to take the good with the bad, or the bad with the good. So, like I said, we can all just try to be respectful to each other, and like I said, that works both ways. We need to be respectful of our citizens, probably even more so, because it's not a lot, but they are paying us to be up here, and they put their trust in us, so we've got to earn that. So if nobody else up here had anything else right now, I'll go ahead. Ms. Pelletier, go ahead, we'll let you.
Hannah Pelletier, 7724 Shadow Bay Drive. The glaring hypocrisy of the person who put this on this agenda is blinding. First of all, Mr. Ayers directed the citizen not to address him.
Here's an attack.
You are in my 3 minutes.
I don't care about your 3 minutes. We've already discussed how we're going to keep things professional. And now you instantly go flying off.
No, we talked about, we are professional.
Well, they should keep it both ways.
Well, I mean, now, got to be fair, you started your discussion by
That was
mentioning.
from last
Well,
meeting.
but you started your discussion tonight with talking about a commissioner and his wife. Well, we only have one commissioner and his wife who are here, so I feel like you started by naming them, so I feel like we've got to let her have her 3 minutes to like rebut. You know, when you debate, you get to say yours and then the other side gets to rebut, so I want to allow her to have her 3 minutes to rebut, because you did, honestly, you started out making it personal when you spoke, because you called out by name, well, not by name, but by title, the commissioner and his wife, so I want to give them, and then maybe we can get beyond, but we can let the person that you kind of called out, go ahead and have her speak. I'm sorry, go ahead, you want to start her 3 minutes over.
So, first of all, we directed a citizen not to even address him when the citizen had a criticism. 2, he was in the audience prior to a previous meeting, warning a developer that a commissioner asked too many questions, and they need to watch what they say in front of me, because we falsely claimed we team up on the commission. That was a lie. And then said I should be ashamed of myself for even asking him why he said that. Then he's told me my opinion was ridiculous. And then he said a citizen's opinion was based on that citizen being a liberal. What that has to do with anything, I don't know, but another thing, how does he even know what Mr. Bostic's national political affiliation is? And, I mean, did he tell him, did he look it up online? Did he, or worst case scenario, did he assume his political affiliation? And then, when Bob was asking a question at a recent meeting, he says to Bob, well, if you were paying attention, you'd know. Which we've already cleared up, that commissioners can ask as many questions as they want. Citizens have their 3 minutes to say what they want. And just tonight, Bob was asking about the practice. And he's put this on the agenda item about conduct. And he told Bob, well, that's what happens at practice. So whose conduct really needs to be monitored here? And at this point, now that I'm reading this list, I mean, clearly this is directed at Bob and me. As adults, I mean, that comes across as jealousy. I don't know. But silencing a citizen for criticism is not the right answer. And he said himself, and that's on record, probably, I think it was in May or June, he said he welcomes citizens' comments and criticism. So obviously, that's a lie if he wants to silence citizens who criticize. That's all I have to say.
Mr. Augusta, it's good to see you back.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. David Augusta, 6609 Britton Street. First, this is going to be my last appearance here at the city council because I'm working on a schedule change to better take care of my family, which you are aware of. As you know, most of this city council, and this is going all the way back to 2017, back when we had Melva as Ward 1 Commissioner, and we had Mr. McLeod, who succeeded you when you became mayor. As all of you know, I have always done my best to respect this city council. And I think it's pretty good to say, and I'm sorry Mr. Cook isn't here to hear this, because this includes him, but I'm sure Mr. Schultz will do a good job repeating what I'm saying to him, if he's not watching a live feed right now. I have only disagreed with this city council, most of this city council, for 20% of the time up until mid-2023. I supported Mr. Ayers replacing Mr. Mancelli when he came and he applied that night. Some asked me why didn't I apply, who secretly knew I was planning to run. I didn't want to do it because I felt the time wasn't right. I wanted to hear a vote from the people. I thought Mr. Ayers was the right man for the job, and up until mid-2023, when he got upset with me, when I talked to him in private about something he might have been doing that someone could take as a sunshine law violation, I saw him talking to Commissioner Griggs outside the city council meeting, or at the Historical Society about city business. Well, he took it as an offense. I read by his body language. And you know, I respected Mr. Ayers, and I thought to myself, whoever the people choose up until 2023, it would have been a win-win for our city. Mr. Ayers served our country, and I commend him for that. But at the same time, we have the freedom of speech, the freedom to peaceably assemble. And I saw Deputy McKenzie earlier, and I commend him for standing up. And Mayor, you have, on at least 2 occasions, without using your gavel, you said we couldn't take comments from the audience. The audience had to be quiet. So you have done your part. But Mr. Ayers violated sunshine law twice, which Mr. Griggs pointed out one time, talking about his opponent, which was me. I never campaigned from this podium. And I always gave him the respect that he deserved up until after the election. But I'm here to say right now, Mr. Ayers has not only disappointed me as somebody who once supported him, he's disappointed a lot of citizens. And tonight, I call for his immediate resignation as Ward 4 Commissioner, and if he does not resign, then I encourage the citizens to do a recall petition on him, and I will gladly be one of the first to sign it. Thank you very much, Madam Mayor, council members. 10 seconds up.
Yes, sir.
I second the call for his resignation. How dare religion be brought up to say that the commissioner and his wife are religious and that their conduct is not religious? How dare that be said in a meeting by an elected official? That's inappropriate. That offends me. I am as unreligious as you could get, and that offends me. How dare you say that about a commissioner and his wife? This is ridiculous. I've sat up here and I have criticized Commissioner Griggs. My first meeting, he didn't like having the camera out. I criticized him. I put it on YouTube. It's got thousands of views. I told the mayor not to roll her eyes, not to look at the time clock when I'm up here. You know what she does? Looks right at me, carries on. You know what else she does that is amazing? When I come up here and I won't give my name, she changes the language in what she reads to more reflect what the Constitution says, that we have the right to address our elected officials anonymously. And she says, if you want to state your name. That's amazing. So, for everybody up here to not have thick enough skin to take criticism from citizens, these are citizens that are up here, and then to say something about somebody's religious affiliation, I want you to resign. I think you should submit it right now. I think you should take the podium as a citizen up here and say that we shouldn't have people act like this. I'm not going to be the one to be up here doing it, and you should resign.
You have any announcements? Yes, sir.
I'll fit in the topic. Prepared statement. My name's Walter Waltz, I'm 8117 Heritage Woods Drive. Normally, I sit right over there. Haven't been able to because of some health issues I've been dealing with. But the beauties of these meetings is you can watch. You can read, you can see the agenda, the minutes. You can go back and look at past city meetings. And some of us do this to learn what the commissioners do and how our city operates, and addressing the concerns of the citizens in the city who vote you into office. We don't have to be in attendance to show we care about this city. Which brings me to my first point. Some of our citizens volunteer for certain positions. You advocated in several meetings, you're always looking for volunteers. You have the audit committee, absent certificate committee, planning board committee. When you discuss these applications in a public forum, why would you denigrate any volunteer that fills out an application and insinuate that because we're not sitting in this audience, that we don't care enough about this city position that we're volunteering for? There's nothing in the application or anything I could find on the city website that need to attend the next city meeting to represent myself, and neither did the other two considering candidates. We had 4 applications. Do you think you might have called and invited us? Yeah, we're invited every night. But I told Mr. Hagan and Mr. Conte I couldn't be, I was out of town, and they both said, all you need to do is turn in this application. When I handed it to the assistant city clerk, he didn't say I had to attend the next meeting. But don't think for 1 minute I don't care about this city. I must say, the process was slick. Mr. Griggs gave a nice rundown of a citizen, but it clearly indicated he was grooming a candidate. But I've got to say, that was the fastest motion and second I've ever heard this commission do. Sounded quite coordinated, in fact. All you had to do was review the qualifications of the candidates and make a selection. But to base your selection on attendance, really. On the issue of selecting, because you don't need to engineering the engineer, really, I'm the only engineer on that, by the way. That's one of the most silliest things I've ever heard. You would absolutely want an engineer. Imagine the FIU bridge collapse. City would have loved to have an engineer's second look at their designs. But what type of engineer would you need? Do you know how many engineering curriculums there are? Mechanical, civil, aeronautical, astronautical? I counted over 24 on a quick Google search. Some would apply quite well to the planning board. But you had to make the comment that the last thing you want is to engineer the engineer. I don't think an astronautical engineer that calculates orbit trajectories or design rocket ships fits the bill for civil engineering. I sure wouldn't want a civil engineer to design any other spacecraft. I would like to thank Commissioner Ice
I'm sorry, sir, your time is
for
up.
trying to do what was right. Was that loud enough?
Is there anybody else that would like to speak, Mr. Shaner? Now, this is supposed to be about just the conduct of professional meetings. I think we got a little off track, but this is about the item that we were discussing.
Okay,
I mean, if you want, you
is there
could,
gonna be another at the end of the meeting?
yes, sir, there will be
Okay,
at
that's
the end of the
what I
meeting
want.
about just,
Well, maybe it is. I come to these meetings to see what's going on with the city business. I've made several years I've come to these meetings. I like to know what's going on. I don't wanna hear all this backstabbing and long meetings and stabbing and all this gab. I come to hear what the city's business is, and I expect each commissioner to vote their mind, not what their buddy said, you know, oh yeah, I'll vote him, or I'll vote yeah. I expect everyone to vote their own conscience, right or wrong. I expect them to vote their own, not what everybody else thought, but their own. But you know, if I keep coming to these meetings, I come to see what the city's business is and find out what's going on. And you know, some of the things going on isn't real nice right now. Thank you.
thank you, Mr. Shaner. Anybody, Ms. Langston? Okay, thank you.
Teresa Langston, 6031 William Street. Most of the things I say, if I disagree with whatever your opinions are, is most everything I say, I've said it to Commissioner Pelletier, I've said it to Commissioner Griggs, about how the citizens are spoken to, about things that are said that they may not think is coming across as condescending, but they are, and I have both mentioned that at times. And I do get up here, I think the citizens should be treated with respect. I think that the citizens have a right to speak. And I know one of the comments that he made was pointed to me because I pointed out something that the planning board did. And it just wasn't based on opinion, it was actually based on the violation of a Florida state statute, which is, you know, based on more than just opinion. And we make statutes for a reason. And if somebody is violating the state statute, then it does need to be brought to somebody's attention to ensure that other people's rights are not violated and the statutes are not violated. Because that's the reason why we have them. Second of all, when encountering disagreements or criticism, I mean, you can still be respectful. And I try to be pretty respectful. I know that sometimes my filter has slipped once or twice up here when I was really mad. But I know when I go to walk up here and make a comment and then somebody goes, of course, under their breath, then, you know, that's been said before. You know, telling a citizen to sit down and shut up is not what a commissioner should be doing. And you should treat other commissioners with respect. And I just want to make a comment about the grooming part. Nobody has groomed me to do anything. I showed up at a meeting because something was affected in my neighborhood and I started attending. And I spoke with Mr. Griggs or Commissioner Griggs about, well, I don't think it's gonna matter if I speak. And he corrected me and said, well, they don't know how you feel unless you get up there and speak your opinion. So that's how I started coming to meetings. So I don't think anybody groomed me to do anything. I'm an adult and I came on my own free will. Every Tuesday, whether it be a planning board meeting, I attend in person. And that's it.
Yes, is there a lady over here? I just didn't see you.
I was just gonna say that.
Yeah, I know, you need to come to the microphone.
I know I'm just a citizen, not resident, but I've been to other meetings, and I've been to, and I think, I feel very comfortable here, and I think they do a great job of having public participation, and you give plenty of time to everybody to say what they want. Other meetings and other people don't do that. I think that's, maybe you should, maybe check your, I don't know if that's called backyard. Cause I have to agree, I think you did a great job, and I've never heard you criticize anybody. If you ever get it, yours, I think it'd be decent, I'm just a.
Thank you. Anybody else? I don't want to miss anybody that wants to speak. But I'm not seeing anybody. So that finishes the agenda items. And we'll go on to commission and staff comments. I just had a couple things. I know Deputy McKenzie didn't have a presentation tonight. It wasn't the meeting for our statistics, but they did a great job with Kite Day. I didn't know if he wanted to tell us anything about Kite Day, but we appreciate that you did it. I know all the people that came out really enjoyed it. I've had people talk to me about it since Kite Day, how much fun they had and how much their kids enjoyed it. I didn't know if you had any idea of how many we did, how many kites we gave out, or how many hot dogs, or...
Gave out 500 kites, but what made it successful was each and every one of you showed up. Every commissioner showed up, everybody pitched in, everybody helped, and I really appreciate it. We were short-staffed at on deputies that day because a lot of them went over to the funeral over in Walton County. The sheriff was over there, and he didn't make it over here, but he sent me a message. He let me know he wasn't going to be able to make it. But I want you to know, y'all really made a big difference, and I really do appreciate you. I appreciate the citizens that showed up. And everybody was just real nice. It was a beautiful day, and we did have a decent turnout. So, but thank you again. Y'all made it successful.
Well, thank you. I don't know how everybody else feels. I think it's a lot of fun. I enjoy seeing the kids and the grown-ups having fun flying the kites. So.
Yeah, we're the ones that are privileged on that.
That's right.
That is absolutely fun.
I'm not on youth commission, but I got a couple of tons of rolling.
I don't think that's workers' comp, though. I don't think so, but we appreciate the sheriff's office doing that for us. And I don't know if anybody y'all know, San Marcos restaurant has been open. I think they opened actually in November, but they had their grand opening just a few days ago, so they are officially open. So it's nice to have something in that location. I'm hoping that whatever the curse is on that building is lifted and maybe they will stay for a long time. It'd be nice to have something that stayed in there instead of having it empty 6 months out of the year. And I had the privilege of going to Callaway Elementary last Thursday, the 17th. In the morning, I presented the proclamation for the month of the military child, and we always do certificates for each one of the kids, you know, that are military children. And you can tell the growth in Callaway and in the number of students. Last year, when we did this, there were 12 military children at Callaway Elementary. This year, there were 34. So it's, 3 times. And the kids enjoy it, but what the vice principal who kind of heads this up, what she told me is it really means a lot to the parents that the kids are recognized. So I'm just glad that the city can do that for the kids and for the parents, to let them know we know how difficult it is. Some of us know personally how difficult it can be a military child. So I'm just glad that the city can do that and recognize those kids and make it a little better for them. And I wanted to thank, I know we had some citizens and we had some commissioners go to the public hearing about DuPont Bridge. So that was really interesting. There was good information, and it's nice to see that we have people in the city that are concerned about what's going on in our community. And I think that's everything that I had. So Commissioner Davis, we'll start with you.
I did have a question. Now that part of Beacon Point's been established, we're under contract, can the second part go out for bid before that's done? Or what's?
I'm waiting on the state and the engineer to start on the second part. They haven't given me the
So they can run
go-ahead.
simultaneously?
As far as I know, yes. We're just waiting on them to get me information.
And that's that is actually the owner's engineer, isn't it? Not the city's
Correct,
engineer.
yes.
And they need to move on that because the grants do have a final drop dead date that the funds will go away, so they need to get going.
Well, that's
They
what I
want
mean.
to pull the rest of that.
The other part, I'll shoot an email, trying to follow up. And I know you won't have it, but the way I understand, Tico, maybe you can help out on this, Kelly. Well, I understand our utilities director and Tico don't do anything by email, they strictly by conference calls. Is it recorded or somebody put that in minutes?
I've not been in any of those conference calls, but I wanna say they started, or who's the person from DOT, maybe they wanted to start getting like minutes of those. I saw some email correspondence, but
Is it strictly?
I've not been involved in any of those,
Nothing to follow back up.
any of those conference calls or anything.
I'm not involved in any of those either, it's simply city manager.
Yeah, and I've not been able to talk to him about it, since he's been out.
I don't know if he's watching tonight, but what I will do, I kind of try to make notes of anything would come up that'd be a question for him. And I'll send him an email later tonight that maybe he can, when he's feeling up to it, he can kind of address that, so I'll ask him about is there any written record
That's all I got.
of utility meetings? Okay, Commissioner Griggs.
Concerning the, planning board, we had 4 applicants, you were one of the applicants on the list, and very honestly, we do have some turnovers, and very honestly, reviewing your qualifications at that time and all that business, I would want you on the planning board. So, we will see, but right now, you're, of the remaining 3 of that original 4, and, part of the reason for that, and my feeling of that, is that, based on your statements, and this is the first time I've been able to hear from you, based on your statements, you're the kind of person that's gonna look at the situation, just like, she did for the last several years, at least getting informed and seeing all points of view. But as I said, there was no grooming there because most of her points of view were anti my points of view, so, but at least I could understand that and respect that. Same thing with you. Something came up yesterday which brings us back into the solid waste issue. We have I don't call it a community, but an area that was built and developed back in 1994 and moved forward with that. And what they're doing is they realize that their development, even though they don't seem to have a POA, Property Owners Association, and I haven't gone into any of the real detail on that, but maybe back in 94 there was something added to their deeds or something related to that. But what they decided to do as individual properties in this development area is they want to redo the facade, they want to redo the things to make that development a little bit better. And I'll tell you what development it is. I don't know the exact name because they've already taken the sign down with that development. But it's Shirley Drive, which is right over here, next to all the development that we're going to be doing. And they, as citizens, just of that area, got together, no formal meetings or anything along that line. They got together and said, we want to redo this, we want to repaint our wall, we want to redo our fence and all that. They're collecting the money, and they're doing it with their own labor and their own dollars. All they're asking for the city is where they're tearing down their fence. Could the city pick that up? Now, that's, you know, we don't pick up building materials, we don't pick up fencing, and we don't do that. But I think we should be looking at, where you have an area in the city or a group in the city, street in the city where they get together, they want to improve their appearance, you know. This particular area is not in the CRA, so we can't give them CRA funds to help. They're not asking for that, they're just asking, can we at least pick up their boards? You know, and I'm for that, for this reason, because they're trying to improve the appearance of their development, which you see it off of Highway 22, and that improves the appearance of this area, of the city. It's not an individual property owner that's going to rebuild their house and replace their rotten fence or something along that line. That's not what we're all about. But when we have a group like this, I think they should be supported. Now, that's against our solid waste regulations. But I think in certain situations, and I think, you know, I'd like to bring it up for you for discussion, that in certain situations, we need to allow the city manager latitude and our public works director latitude in doing certain things. Unfortunately, you're always going to have that 1%, or in the industry we talk about 5%, but you're going to have those that are going to throw it back in your face. But very honestly, in a situation like this, what I know is going on Shirley Drive and their reasons behind it, and their, I'll take it throwing back in my face because I agree with it. But it is against our actual regulations. Now, I brought it up before one time where it was actually a compliment to the solid waste department that if somebody, you know, for the first time, for example, has a pile that's too big, they gave them a notice that said, your pile is too big, but we're going to pick it up this time, but not again. And when I brought that up as a compliment, because we were actually helping to serve people and you know, citizens, because it happens. I've had it, and actually have had to pay for it. But when that was brought up as a compliment, that what we're doing to help the citizens, it was kind of brought up, well, who gives anybody approval? We didn't approve giving this kind of notice and that kind of thing. And I just believe that certain situations, whether it involves very honestly handicapped people, elderly people in many cases, we've had situations, I know I'm dragging this out, but we've had situations where we've actually had developers or contractors come in and do something for a particular area, but at the same time, they've gone next door, down in that development and helped somebody that was disabled. This kind of thing. We have people out there like that. And we also have the people that are criticized, but we also have the people that will go beyond the normal and help. And I think we've got room in the city that we can do the same thing. So that's the reason I'm bringing that up concerning Shirley Drive. They're kind of the example. And I've actually told, Mr. Talbot, that I was gonna use them as an example of what various developments and, streets, can do for themselves. They don't need necessarily the city jumping in but we can jump in and help. And very honestly, removing their fencing material is a very minor situation. But, it is against the rules. But I would like our city manager to have the authority to, make those decisions, and our public works director, since he controls most of those issues. I think my 3 minutes is up, isn't it? I'll let it go with that, except for the kites. Thank the sheriff's department for allowing us to participate in that. It's really seeing the kids and the parents and the grandparents. And actually this time, since we were a little bit, even short, we actually had, a citizen or two that came out and helped on that. So, appreciate y'all.
Okay, Commissioner Pelletier.
Well, Commissioner Davis, I'm gonna piggyback on your conversation.
Davis?
Griggs. I'm chiming in. I've had quite a few phone calls in relationship to that. I don't have any problems with doing it, but the problem I have with it is that we've told so many people no. And if we told that person no, even though it's one here, one there, I have one on Highway 22 that sent me an email. I've talked to city managers, no, we can't do it, okay? That's the problem I have with it, is that we open the Pandora's door. Personally, I wish we'd have never gone to what we're doing. I liked it the old way. We just picked everything up. But unfortunately, every year, we were in the hole, you know, and we had to take money out of our operating fund to support the enterprise fund, okay? And I don't know, I want to look at the audit where we're at this year. I don't know, David, if you can tell me, did we break even this past fiscal year?
We made money in salaries.
Okay, and how much money did we make?
I don't know.
Okay, so we made money.
It's not a lot.
We didn't make a lot of money.
If we had bought a new truck, we would have spent in the hole.
Yeah, so we're still kind of break even. And I understand what you want to do, but this person that I was told no to is the same situation off of Highway 22 on the other side. And I've had 3 others. I had one in my neighborhood, matter of fact. City manager came over. He just had a little project. He did shelving. He had pieces of plywood. He didn't pick it up. Okay. So that's the problem I have with allowing it for that community, is that I understand what they're trying to do, but we're telling people no, but yet we're gonna allow a certain group. Now, either we're gonna do it or not do it, is what I'm saying. And I don't know why we don't do fencing material, but to me, you know, wood is wood, you know.
But you have to take it to the landfill and
Yeah.
pay a tipping fee, and that gets expensive.
And we see, I don't think all of us see, 2x4s laying on the side of the road that we're not picking up, that sits there and on and on. I know one, my neighbor's been there for 4 months now. I'm about ready to pick it up and put it in my trash, because that's the only way it's gonna go. It's not gonna be picked up. So that's the only reason why I understand what they're doing, but I don't agree, either we do it for all or not do it all, personally. I understand they're trying to, these people we said no to are doing the same thing down in that home, in the estate, but it's the same thing.
Can I respond?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm stating this as a community, as a, street.
Right.
I'll give you one example after the hurricane. when we were trying to, clear everything out after the hurricane, Georgia, Georgia, they all got together and they were pulling out their chainsaws and everything, and we didn't even have to touch Georgia. That's a community involvement. Mr. Bosnick, who is over there on Kimbrell, very honestly, the next hurricane, I'm gonna go over there. Because, he had all the security and everything else that was necessary, that's a community getting together. That's, I'll go over to, of course, I stayed in my own house and all that, so I didn't need to go over there, but that's where I'll go next time. And I'm just thinking that when a community does that, now, as far as an individual, Ron, where are you?
I'm right here listening.
You know what I'm about to say. You got a 96-gallon garbage can, cut up that, whatever you were working on and put it in that 96-gallon garbage can. You got a toilet you pull out, get your biggest hammer and put it in that 96-gallon garbage can and all that. I tell the story that I rebuilt a pontoon boat recently, and that flooring and all out of the pontoon boat went in that 96-gallon garbage can. So as far as an individual is concerned, and as far as my fencing and this kind of thing, it's going in the 96-gallon garbage can. Now, maybe Waste Pro is gonna do away with me in the future, but, that's where it's going for the small things. What I was looking for is support for the community.
Can I interject something that may help both of your situations? I meant to say it during my comments, I was gonna say it during announcements. This Friday and Saturday are amnesty days at Stillfield landfill. If those people on Shirley have a couple of trucks, individually owned, they can load up that stuff and haul it to the landfill themselves, and there'll be no cost, and it'll all be gone.
No.
And that'll kind of take care, I know I'm working on the load on Thursday to take up there my stuff on Friday. So, anybody that you know, amnesty days, Friday and Saturday from 7 a.m. till, 5 or 6 in the evening, I guess. But you haul it up there, there's no cost. Now, if you go in a commercial vehicle, they're not gonna let you do it for free. But if you go in your private vehicle that doesn't have a logo or something on the side, it's free, it's very organized, I've done it a couple of times, depending on what it is, you either unload it yourself or they unload it for you, but it's a good deal. If you've got a lot of stuff, construction type debris to get rid of, take it up there and it's gone.
That's what I did with my neighbor. I told him I was going up and I'd take some of his stuff, but he cut it all up and put it in
In
waste.
the garbage can, yep, and that's the other, I do that all year.
Waste management, Waste Pro.
But see, it's a great way to get rid of it if you've got old paint, because you're not supposed to put paint in your garbage can, but you can haul it up there, they even unload the paint for you.
Yeah.
If you've got old paint cans to get rid of. I'm sorry to
No,
interrupt, but that seemed timely with what
I just
y'all were
don't-
talking about.
I don't, I understand what he's trying to do. I'm just saying is that
I'm with you, you can't
we
pick and
we
choose.
start this group and then this group and then that group, and I understand. Personally, I wish we'd do away with all of it, pick it all up, but.
We'd have to
go back.
raise our solid waste,
Right.
but of course, no, we're gonna bid it out, but we'll see.
I don't know,
It's
city
probably-
manager's listening, but I don't know, I guess we're at 99% now.
Do you
On the
have
contract?
any- That would be another question I'm gonna ask them about.
The only other thing I had, the city attorney, have we had any discussion with Chief? You said you haven't talked to him.
No, I talked to you after the meeting, I need to get with the city manager, I know he's been out a little bit, just to see, before I send any sort of correspondence. Last time I talked to Tico, basically it grinds everything to a halt, because once they go to
Everything
their-
has been
to a halt. Okay, but the meetings will stop, when it goes to their legal, so before I sent something, I wanted to know what has been happening in those meetings. I might be able to get
So
us-
what you're saying is that if you send a letter, they're gonna quit talking?
100%, yeah.
Yeah, it'll be attorney to attorney.
Yeah, 100%.
Well, it can't be any worse than what it is now.
It's about the
They're not
same.
even
That's
talking
right.
anyhow.
That's right.
In other words, we've made zero progress, even after you talking, attorney to attorney, they've exceeded that by at least, 2 months now?
Yeah, I get it, it's not.
And nothing's been done. And, I just, obviously it is what it is, but that's all I got. I'll keep the rest for city manager.
Well, I don't think we're gonna have a city manager.
No.
Yeah,
I'll send him an email.
okay. Commissioner Ayers?
Yes, ma'am. All right, thanks for the criticisms. I did take notes on that. There was some, good inputs, and, I will definitely take some of those to heart. I did attend Cat Day with the Sheriff's Department, enjoyed that. Tim, the fields just look fantastic. While I was going around telling everybody about hot dogs and the kites, the soccer fields were fully used, and, it was just beautiful. Good job out there. Talked with his city manager by phone prior to his operation. And he gave me a rundown on all the city things. I did talk to Go Power today. They were out getting ready to put a new pole up at, boat race for the roundabout. And the pole should be in tomorrow, then they're gonna start transferring stuff pretty quickly. So, there's progress. I did go by the conference center. It's brand new inside. If you guys get a chance, you can at least go by and look in the windows and the doors, and you'll see all brand new tile. The bathrooms are complete. There's actually a stove and sinks and refrigerators in. The only thing that isn't up yet is the big widescreen TV, but everything else is there. And I think the contractor is donating the TV, so don't hold me to that.
I know he's donated a lot.
He has,
Put a lot of
and
things in.
it's beautiful,
Did they bring
brand
any
new.
extra cabinets, cause all it was a stove and one cabinet?
I don't know that they put cabinets.
I didn't notice that.
You
There
got all
might be a
cabinets.
cabinet, but
So you
it's
got
not
no
huge.
citizens for citizens.
Well, no, but I mean, they've got it, there's a table, they've taken things into consideration, but they just didn't build in a lot of things.
I guess I was on the drawing, I swear there was cabinets, but I must be dreaming.
Well, I don't know for sure, do you know?
No cabinet.
That's what I thought.
That's interesting. There probably should be something there for some kind of storage, but, there is a room for storage. You know how we used to have the other one with all the chairs, that's all been cleaned off, but there's a room on the far left now, just past the bathrooms. So, air conditioner's beautiful, by the way, huge. I attended Bay County Commission meeting, they talked about the Ironman is gonna be held May 10th. They've been doing it for over 40 years now. That was interesting. Commissioner Carroll, who's our commissioner in Dade County, he brought up fluoride, and they're gonna talk about the fluoride thing, next meeting. I did a little more research. There's something called Flyover Florida, which gives you a rundown of all the things happening in Florida. And it did talk about 67 counties in Florida and 40 have removed fluoride or don't have it in the water. Also, they did a poll of Floridians, and only 23% wants to keep fluoride. There's 46% wants to remove it, and 31% is not sure. So, it's interesting, and I guess the bill in the House, State House, has passed, and it's starting to move forward, so. There's something new on the market called a Moxable. Have you guys heard about that?
What?
It's a house that's folded up, and it's $60,000. You can purchase it and set it on a lot, and just within a couple of hours, it's up and ready to go. It's pretty nice looking, but that's something that we may have to look at some point. But I just thought I'd bring that out, and if you get a chance to research, you might want to look at it. It's pretty nifty. I think they make it in California.
California.
Well, they hit it here pretty quick. They were talking about the East Coast with it and so forth, so.
Seems like there've been issues with permitting and inspections and. New codes.
I thought that.
If it's in California, they make it where it's, maybe has lumpers or something to handle the vibration of the earthquake. Here we need 165-mile-an-hour wind protection.
Yeah, tell me about that. But they talked about the hurricane, cause they've been shipping to Florida. And they can sustain pretty high winds, so. All right, that's all I have.
Okay, city clerk, do you have anything for us? Okay, city attorney, nothing. Do you have anything on behalf of the city manager? No?
Oh, before Mary starts, by the way, Mr. Griggs, they put lights in my neighborhood and they're very bright. The new lights.
What color are they?
They're not purple. And they're not amber, they're clear ones.
They're clear.
Yes. And I forgot to do 4 of them, but I'll send a email, but it looks really good. Very bright. Sorry, I had to add that.
Well, sorry, I don't like that.
Well,
I want the amber.
They can put bright ones in my neighborhood, and I like to be able to see what's going on out there.
I missed the purple.
Really?
You're going in Callaway, it looked kinda neat. Come around Hall Pink curve, those purple lights.
Well, city manager, if you're watching, we send you our best and hope you're recuperating nicely so we can see you at our next meeting. Now, we are, okay, the announcements. Like I said, April 25th and 26th is Amnesty Day, so if you have stuff you need to get rid of and you have the means to do it, take it on up to the landfill. May 6th is the potential for a planning board meeting, does it look like?
Don't have anything yet.
Okay, so, probably not, but check at the last minute just in case. And then our next meeting will be May 13th, right here at 6 o'clock. So if anybody else aware of anything, I don't know of anything else that's going on that we have to.
TPO, meeting tomorrow.
Well, that's the public workshop about.
Public workshop.
Yeah, there's a public workshop at 11 o'clock in the morning. I think I know what you're gonna say. Public workshop at 11 in the morning about project priorities. It'll be at the Bayway office down off of 11th Street, there off Masalina. That's at 11. There's another, the one at 2:30 is more for TPO, CAC, TCC, but the 11 o'clock is public.
And May 10th, the Iron Man on the beach, so the traffic's gonna be.
Yeah,
backed up.
I think we all know stay away from it. And is it the April 30th?
Yes.
Yes, April 30th at 3.
Yeah.
There's gonna be a ribbon cutting or grand opening of our community center. So that was just set today, so.
When they gonna do a ribbon cutting? We never did the bridge, we never did Veterans Park.
Well,
Never again Gore Park either.
yeah, we did.
Yeah, we
We
did
had a
go
ribbon
for it.
cutting for Gore
Yes, we
Park.
did.
You were there.
Except,
And we got the apple of our eye awards there.
yeah, except we wanna have the basketball,
I know, we've never done anything with the bank shot.
right, with the
That was,
big shot.
Eddie was gonna set that up with the autistic school, and I keep asking, but we've never done anything.
We put that in specifically for that purpose.
So, well, we might still do something, I don't know. But nope, we're gonna do it for the community center. The bridge, I don't know if we technically accepted that in full yet, we may still be doing punch list items, so we can have a ribbon cutting, we can just stand there with a ribbon and let the first car just drive through it. Somebody will come across. So, that's all the announcements that I know of. So we will go on now to public participation. Mr. Vesta?
David Vista, 6609 Brigham Street. And Commissioner Pelletier, I think the reason why he thought Mr. Bridges was Mr. Davis, because they got the same haircut. But, all joking aside though, as I said, this will be my last meeting that I'm going to attend. Probably not forever, but for a good while to look after my family. And I just wanna close out as quick as I can, I wanna talk about the 80 to 90% of what I agree with our city, that makes it as positive as it is. First thing I wanna do is, I wanna thank Commissioner Harris for stating facts about the fluoride situations with our city and our county water. It even matches what our National Health and Human Services Secretary, Mr. Kennedy, has said, and you know, God bless his dad. His dad was a fine man in history along with his uncle. But other things I like to say, I wanna be as quick as I can. It's been an honor to attend these meetings, going all the way back to 2017, all the way to now. I have found many things I've agreed with our city council on. Our city is still the best in all of Florida as far as I'm concerned, and even the United States. I would trade living here even for living in Washington DC. Our city lifeblood is our city workers, and every city supervisor who's here should be very proud of their workers. Even Deputy McKenzie, even though he's county, you know, they're contracted to the city. He and his peers do a fantastic job as well. I can't, again, probably the best example of why I say our city is still that shining city on the hill that President Reagan called our country as, was right after Hurricane Michael. Mr. Griggs brought it up earlier about the hurricane, how we all came together. Didn't matter what neighborhood we lived in, what our personal incomes were. We all came together and we worked together to help our city recover. And thanks to a lot of implementations, which were, I'm proud to say, were libertarian thinking, our city remained fiscally sound, and that helped in our recovery as well. And I'd just like to end on a personal note about something positive Commissioner Covey did years back. And I say I voted for back in 2018. I'm sorry, Mr. Davis, I did vote for you 4 years later. Well, wait, you didn't run again, but I would have voted for you. I voted for you, Commissioner Griggs, 4 years later. But one positive thing Commissioner Covey did do, even though she was criticized a lot, was back in 2017 when Mr. Atkinson was trying to get a rezone approval for what was the old LA Youth Center to bring the care over here. Commissioner Covey proved that he had given false information about the problems they had with the city of Springfield, the city of police being called. I commend her for that, for helping our city out, and that's the 90% positive. Thank you, God bless you, and goodbye.
Mr. Shana?
Ron Shaner, 5711 Cabin Circle. I agree with Mr. Pelletier. I'm one of these, all or none. I don't believe in, cutting out this little group and doing something nice for them. What about the neighbor across the street from this development? When they see how nice it looks, they want, hey, I want to tear my fence down, or, I want to put up a new fence. Will you pick mine up? So, I'm with Mr. Pelletier. I like it a lot better the way it used to be. Now you tell us, put out your trash can the day before at noon and have it, picked up within 24 hours. But if the city don't pick it up, then it lays there for weeks, maybe months. I mean, it don't get prettier as it lays there. So it just don't sound quite right, If my trash can sitting out there is gonna be ugly, so what you don't pick up. So, I'm not for doing, special groups. I like the trash pickup much better the way it used to be. And if I hear much more about these 96-gallon trash cans and the miracles, I'm gonna need a varmint. Yeah. Yeah.
I hear you, Ron.
Yeah. I keep hearing about these 96-gallon trash cans. I get like a 15-gallon one picked up twice a week. 2 little bags in it. I'm really not able to fill up a 96-gallon can, with whatever, and tote it up down that little bank. I'm gonna have to carry it out there a piece at a time. Or breaking up a commode with a hammer or something like that, I learned better than that long ago. You're gonna get a face full of it. So, anyway, that's all I got.
Thank you, Mr. Shanahan. Who else was that? Yes, sir.
I'm only a very quiet guy. I just want to address, what you said, and thank you for that comment. One of the reasons why I came up here tonight was because when I hear engineer the engineer, it's focused at me. And it means I don't stand a chance if this comes under review again, that I'm the last on the list because you don't want to engineer the engineer. And the only other one was the comments about being in attendance, because I have been in attendance and I do watch it online. And I went back and I reviewed that last meeting several times, so I just wanted to let you know, I really agree with most of you as far as some of the topics, being consistent in your application of pickup, but I mean, even speed bumps. I agree with most of you on the topics. So I think the city's well run, it's pretty open. Don't care for the backbiting dialogue, I wish we could get rid of that. But for the most part, I thank you for serving, and like I said, I want to at least have my voice be heard that, you know, I'd like to be considered on an equal basis.
You move it.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Am I missing anyone? Yes, sir?
Jeff Carnahan, 7752 Shadow Bay Road. You guys got enough praise tonight. At Beacon Point, they were gonna put in a bank. They came in and cleared out the lot there. There's stacks of asphalt sitting everywhere. There's concrete, boxes for sewage or whatever, and everything else sitting out there. And that place looks like a junkyard lot. Can we go back after the contractor or somebody that did all that to get that cleaned up by any chance?
That's a city manager question or an attorney
You
question.
know, at the parking lot where the drainage, the sewer pipe door, out front next to the subway?
Yep, north of the subway, yep.
That belongs to the, oh my God, the realty company that's processing that, the bank, they did all that for Trustmark Bank backed out.
But they had to have a bond or something to do that, right?
But not with us.
The bank did, and then the bank backed out of the whole deal.
It wasn't our
They-
project.
But you can still go after the bonding company to get that cleaned up.
Is that correct?
The city wouldn't, I mean, if
Yeah.
it's a code enforcement issue, we can go after them for code enforcement, if there's something out there.
Yeah.
If there's a code
But
violation.
like I said, that's more a city manager question, so I'll put that on my
They
list
have
of
an active
things
PO.
to.
They have an active
That active development order.
they're just not doing anything.
So,
I agree, they either need to do something or clean it up.
Yes, that's my whole point. The other thing is solid waste trash pickup. I came back into town Sunday, and there was a house to the left of me or whatever, that had a couch sitting out there. And it's still sitting out there this morning, I was on my bike around the neighborhood. Several people in the neighborhood put on the Shadow Bay Facebook page that they all got missed this week. Either I've brought this up with Eddie Cook and everybody else before too. We either need to start picking it all up or picking up what we say we're gonna pick up or whatever. The neighbor across the street from me, he cut up a bookshelf and put it out on the street. It's happened for 2 weeks. He finally put a bunch of palm leaves on top of it and stuff, and then they scooped it up. But, I mean, it's getting ridiculous as to what they do pick up and don't pick up.
see, and if somebody disguises it like that, they think it's all yard debris.
But bookshelves, why can't they pick them up? It's not
It's
construction
treated-
material,
It's treated wood,
but it's not construction material.
but it falls in the same category because it's treated wood. It has to go to the landfill and there's a tipping fee. That's why we mostly pick up yard debris because that can be chipped and it doesn't go to the landfill.
That is, the timer stopped working, so I've been watching it on here, that's the three.
Okay, that's all.
Okay, thank you. I will ask city manager about Beacon Point.
You probably did have problems with, in our neighborhood this Monday, the reservoir flood complaints out there. I was gonna send an email to Eddie.
Okay, wonderful. I'll let you take care of that and I'm gonna find out about,
Sofa should have been picked up, they pick up sofas all the time.
yes.
On the Beacon Point, we approved the development order for that, and then backed out on it. But that development order is still in effect, right?
Right.
But it should be coming up for renewal. Yes. And that's, I'm thinking that was 2 years ago when we did that. So it should be coming up for renewal, and if they don't do anything, then it becomes a code.
Correct.
Okay, good.
So, be interesting to check, just let us know, Mr. Cook, and let us know how close we are on that development order.
Yep, I'll ask him. I'll ask him if he will respond to these questions, if he'll just send an email out to each of us, so that he can respond to the questions if he has. So, does anybody else want to speak? If I'm not missing anybody? Oh, yes, ma'am, come on back up.
We do a
No,
lot
I
of.
need you to get up here before
I know,
you talk.
We do a lot of, the dumping and stuff like that, and I'm willing to give whoever a card, because when I go on Embassy Day, I need a couch, I don't mind going and picking that up and taking it to town. And when I rent a wood chipper like I am this weekend, I don't mind letting people, if they want a day to come bring their items to be chipped, they can, because I'm looking into buying one. I'm more than happy to help out as far as picking up when I can. Or
Okay, you may wanna just like put an advertisement out on Facebook or something so people
Okay.
know, cause we can't really.
Yeah, I was just gonna, I don't know how to go about advertising it or letting anybody know, but I'm more than happy to help.
Okay, okay, thank you. Anybody else? Don't wanna miss anybody. Okay, well, thank you everybody for coming, and we'll see you hopefully on May 13th. Everybody have a good evening.